Yo, what's good, everybody? And thank you for tuning in to another Tyler Perry Sisters review. If this is your first time coming to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning family member, then you already know what it is and what it always will be. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. Tell somebody to tell somebody if you choose to. But if not, just sit back, relax while we get into this thing here. Now, the cast of Sisters did an interview where there was a lot of interesting hate coming towards Crystal from a statement that she made. I'm going to pin the interview so you guys can check it out if you have not. It was really good, short, sweet, and to the point. However, we got to a segment where the interviewer asked the women what topics on the show has resonated with them off camera. And this is what Crystal had to say.
I would say the toxicity in Zach and Fatima's relationship. Look, Zach, I love you.
Oh my God! What did I do now? You start with you love me. With you leaving.
I feel like our community has normalized toxic love.
And even though it was a short response, I am grateful that Crystal brought this up. I believe that her response was edited because it seemed like sis had more to say on the topic, but I am grateful for what we did get. I agree with Crystal wholeheartedly. From the very beginning, I have always stated that the relationship between Zach and Fatima was toxic as hell. I have been called a hater. I have been called a Fatima basher because I have chosen to speak the truth and stand on it. It doesn't take anyone with a deep perspective or an elevated intellectual mind to see the obvious. Zach and Fatima's relationship is toxic for a number of reasons, but I don't believe that's the biggest issue. I believe the greatest issue is within Crystal's response when she said that I feel like our community has normalized toxic love. And anything that we normalize, we make it the standard. We make it so regular that anyone who opposes that narrative, we immediately label them a hater. Sometimes I wish that word didn't even exist. A hater. Just because you may think differently, just because you have a different perspective, just because you don't share the same thought pattern, people will literally just label you a hater. Or people will become defensive in their responses because they recognize that holes are being poked in what they have deemed to be normal. Zach and Fatima's relationship is not anything to aspire to have on any level. Even in the most basic of relationships, this is not anything to aspire to be in. Now, many of us, I'm not going to say all, many of us have been in some toxic relationships. But then there came a point, I pray there came a point, where we, came to the realization and the revelation that what we were in was not a healthy display of love, trust, or partnership. And if you are in a toxic relationship, you don't have to remain there. And it is vital that you come to a place of recognizing your value and your worth, because you blink your eyes and 5 years have gone by just like that. So I greatly appreciate the fact that Crystal saw the need to bring this up, simply because Zach and Fatima is such a popularized relationship. But I am glad that she recognizes it for what it is and doesn't shy away from the reality of it. And for the people, got to be more careful. For the people who chose to disrespect Crystal on Twitter, now I try not to go on Twitter like that because those streets I do peek over every now and then. But for those who chose to disrespect this woman because she made this statement, you are a part of the problem. And sadly, she didn't state anything that you didn't already know. Zach and Fatima is toxic. I think what happens is people become so engrossed in a relationship or the optics of it that people will choose to live in the land of oblivion when it's clearly right in front of your faces. And one of the things I've always recognized with Zach and Fatima is that Fatima has completely lost herself in this relationship. You think about it. Karen is pretty much 6 months pregnant. She's been with Zach, Fatima has been with Zach for approximately 6 months. She's just now getting back into law school. Just now. Everything about her had become so Zach heavy. She get off work because Zach called her to look at something. She getting off work because Zach is in a bind. She getting off work because Zach acts like he can't make a decision on his own without her input. It became just so about Zach. And I'm like, what about Fatima? I used to always ask that question. What about Fatima? What about Fatima? What does she get out of this? When does the balance scale become more balanced instead of Zach, just getting all the benefits of having this woman in his life? So I'm glad that Crystal brought this up. I'm glad she talked about the normalizing of toxicity, because we do that. And sadly, a lot of us would choose to be in a toxic situation than something that is healthy and beneficial for us. Because a lot of times healthy and beneficial don't always feel good. You know what I'm saying? Healthy and beneficial may cause us to shed some layers of ourselves that we really want to hold on to. Anything worth having is worth going through a shedding process for. Anything worth having is worth sacrificing. When you don't have to sacrifice, when you feel like you could just do what you want to do, come as you come, go as you go, and there is no fight. And that's what I see for me in Fatima and Zach's relationship. Just even to last week's episode where he was like, oh, I'm going to go hang out with the boys. She was like, your son here. You going to chill with Michael. Just that quick, Zach was about to just lend his responsibilities onto Fatima as if she's not in law school, as if she doesn't have to study. He's not doing anything. And yet you feel it's more important to play basketball with your friends than spend time with your son. So I'm glad that this is being brought up because it's sparking a lot of great debates and conversations. I know I'm having them in my DMs, and I'm greatly appreciative for that. And it's also showing how I've always stood on this point. When someone or someone's view something as being aesthetically beautiful, we will tend to downplay the toxicity of it all. And I've said that that's what I believe one of the major things that Tyler was trying to do in this relationship with Zach and Fatima, to prove if you put two extremely good looking people together, people will root for them even though it's a bad situation. That people will root for them even though I have laid it all out how much they don't need to be together. But in the same breath, people will say, oh, Zach and Karen's relationship was toxic. Karen didn't need to be with Zach. Zach didn't need to be with her. Yet we see Zach and Fatima going through some of the same things, if not some worse experiences, but deem their relationship as they're going to get it together. They're just going through the growing pains of relationships. So I think that even though Tyler has got on my nerves with some of the way that he's chosen to write this, that's what I choose to believe he was trying to do. And to Tyler's credit, he was absolutely right. And I'm going to end it there. So I want to thank you guys for listening. Until next time, I will holler at y'all later. And y'all be safe out there. Bye.